Today's topic, winning the talent war, leading high-impact performance teams in a borderless world. This topic explores parts of performance leadership. And for this discussion, we are joined by Mr. Olatayo Ladipo-Ajai, who is our speaker for today, and Dr. Adetutu Afolabi, our reflector. A brief introduction about our speaker and our reflector. Mr. Olatayo Ladipo-Ajai is a digital business leader and technology executive with over 18 years of experience driving innovation and growth across Africa, IT, and communication sectors. He currently serves as regional manager for West Africa at Infobip, leading business growth, customer experience, and digital transformation initiatives across the region. His expertise spans cloud services, AI, enterprise technology, customer engagement, and strategic sales leadership. Olatayo has held senior leadership roles at IBM, BCX, and CWG, where he led large-scale technology and revenue growth initiatives. He is passionate about leveraging innovation, agile leadership, and strategic partnerships to build sustainable, customer-centric businesses. He is an alumnus of the Business School Netherlands. Good to have you join us, Mr. Ladipo-Ajai.
Good morning. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear
Am I
you.
audible?
Yeah,
Oh,
just
excellent.
just a little bit. Let me introduce. Let me do. So, Dr. Adetutu Afolabi is a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and household economist. Sorry, Dr. Adetutu Afolabi is a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and household economics thought leader, focused on intersection of family dynamics, finance, and well-being. She is the co-founder of Hazon Holdings and founder of Wellness Healthcare Group, a platform advancing preventive healthcare and sustainable wellness solutions. Our expertise spans household economics, behavioral finance, entrepreneurship, and emotional wellness. Through a marriage and money platform, she helps individuals, institutions, and policymakers build healthier financial and family systems. Dr. Afolabi is passionate about shaping conversations on how strong households contribute to productivity, wealth creation, and national development. Good to have you, Dr. Afolabi. Mr. Ladipo-Ajai, we have 15
Thank you
minutes.
for having me.
All right, ma. And Dr. Afolabi will have 5 minutes for the reflection, after which we'll have a question and answer. So please drop your question and answer in the Q&A section, in the Zoom, in the chat, in the Q&A section, sorry, so that we'll be able to pick them up. Over to you, Mr. Ladipo-Ajai.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's nice to be here to have this great time with everybody on the call presently. Thank you so much for having me. And I bring greetings from my team in Lagos and all over the world. Okay, so this topic is very important because you can directly relate the quality and the level of management of talent in the organization directly to revenue, directly to profitability, directly to growth, right? So this is a very key part of things. I mean, in the whole picture of everything that we have globally, we see that talent is right at the nucleus, right, of the challenges and the success factors that we all look forward to. So I'm going to quickly talk about, this topic, specifically in the angle of how it relates to the borderless world. And from my experience, the things that I have seen in my journey, and how being able to realize how the times have changed and how we now reposition the talent discussion and the talent, even acquisition, retainership, retention, and growth, how we manage all that topic has totally transformed. I've been working the last over 6 years fully remotely, managing teams across West Africa, and these are senior level, mid-level, technical resources, the works, right? And I work for an organization that has over 3,000, close to 4,000 resources spread all over the world. I mean, your accounting office will be in Lithuania, your technical team will be in Croatia, some guys handling your taxes sit in London, your HR sits in Ghana, right? I mean, because we have realized how the world is unfolding. I mean, everybody blames it on COVID, but the reality is that it was something that was far, it was something that the world was ready for, but it took COVID to, hatch us into it. Now, looking at the reality of the market, it's about local global by default. And when I say local global by default, means that every organization at this point, and thinking through the borderless world or borderless ways of things, must think first about being local but and global by default. And what this means takes you into three different areas, right? There are certain behaviors that definitely needs to change. We can no longer see the talent war from the angle of employing people based on where they live, right? The talent war sits now with employing people across global zones, looking at talents across different time zones, looking at talents based on the productivity and the deliverability of what they provide, to the organization. I mean, as a whole, the looking at the basic and specifics around why you look at the skills first before you look at just the proximity and things like that. I mean, we all know what is happening globally today and where we find ourselves as an organization. But one key thing is that mind shift needs to happen, around globalization of talents and the borderless discussions. So I'll quickly go to some statistics that shows us the reality of work today. Give me a second. I just need to reload this. 1 second. Okay. Now, wait. It's still prompting me to reload it. 1 second, please. Okay. I think it's better now. Okay. So looking at this, I don't know if you can see the reality of work today. Looking at this particular slide, you can see that a lot of organizations are beginning to look at different ways of ensuring that they retain their staff, right? The talents that they have are no longer the same talents that are looking at, a fully on-site job, right? Statistics is saying that 52% employment positions and roles now are on a hybrid arrangement basis, right? And while we look at 26% being fully remote and just 22% being fully on site. And this is a global statistics carried out by a global numbers organization, right? And there's a relation between how this arrangement works and how productivity is calculated. So in terms of return of investment and looking at the productivity matrix of organizations, we see that 85% organizations that embrace the borderless structure actually retain 85% of their staff. Sorry, most organizations that embrace the borderless structure and they retain about 85% of their staff based on statistics. And the other case for organizations that do on-site have a 55% retention rate. In terms of productivity, it's seen that about 90% of 90% productivity occurs when you have borderless teams, as to just 65% when you have on-site teams. I can tell you from a real life perspective, not just showing you slides, that the reality of my 6 years working remotely and let me say hybrid in some instances has improved my productivity personally. One of the harder things that happened was because when we started a remote work, it was forced based on COVID. And I just resumed, and I found out that I had a team of about 27 people to manage remotely. I just resumed a week, and a week later, COVID came and there was a shutdown, and I only met just 5 members of the team one-on-one the first week I came. The rest of the team I didn't meet until 2 years after. But how did I cope? I mean, there was a lot that the organization decided to be pivoted into managing teams based on not the usual behaviors of managing teams in terms of micromanaging and looking at this, but we're now looking more about outcomes. And one of the ways you can empower your teams is by implementing management tools that allow you to manage outcomes as to managing time and attendance, right? So I put in here some tools that have been very useful for us in managing our large and robust teams. We now look at more projects, we look at tasks, we look at outcomes, business outcomes, we look at reporting, in a different way, using tools like Monday.com, using Asana, curating our essential content on Jira, etc. I mean, these tools, they sound, some people, I mean, this is what some people use every day, but some people also have not pivoted into this using of these type of tools yet. However, it's as easy as it comes. A lot of them have moved from being complex coding solutions to just, drag and drop, next. Basically, if you can handle an email, your normal email sending and things like that, you'll be able to handle some of these tools. So this was one of the things that helped us manage our borderless culture that we built. And that was how we're able to set targets, set KPIs and things like that, and move forward. The other thing which I'll come to later is around the behaviors of the manager. There was a shift in the managing behavior of everybody, both the employees and the managers, right? Now, looking at the borderless culture, we had to consciously engage people, because now we had several teams all over the world, different backgrounds, different time zones, different personalities, different beliefs and systems and things like that. But we took the conscious decision to include everybody. And how did we do this? Every time we have stand-ups, every time we have engagements, group meetings, one-on-ones, we try to put a bit of culturalization into it based on the locality of that person, based on the nuances in where the person stays and things like that. We always had a compulsory about 3 minutes small talk before every meeting. We also did a lot of, we made people, that's why I put this slide here, made people greet in their local dialects, right? It was just to, things to make the whole borderless, situation fun. We had lunch together. Sometimes we plan lunch dates, virtual lunch dates, where the whole team is eating their lunch and we're chatting about football, chatting about life, talking about things that happen. So it was it's a new digital culture that we preserved and we created, which still exists today. And we were very open about situations when we had a problem with somebody, member of the team. We could openly discuss about it. It was a very direct and still empathic but direct type of feedback mechanism that we gave to one another. So some of the shifts that we had for me as a manager was changing the way I saw management, right? And this goes for everybody. One of the first things was to let go of the traditional behaviors around surveillance, checking, what time did this person come in? We didn't have anybody come in the first place, right? So, and I was dealing with teams, spread all over the world. So there was nobody to check. I mean, if you want to continue the traditional way, you'd be so frustrated because somebody can be, you can see him or her on with a green dot, but doesn't mean the person is being functional or effective, right? So that wasn't a medium of managing resources. We also realized that we had to stop all the, containment of information, because it was, usually when we had the face-to-face meetings, we could have, silos here and there. and certain people were privileged for certain information, but all that had to stop, because for everybody to be successful, we had to do what? Share information. So that's one traditional habit or behavior that we had to let go as people managers. And we expecting real time. Back in the days, we used to call it management by threat. You need to get this to me by 5 p.m. That was more of a threat, right, than a proper request, right? So I think we put a bit of humanity into it, because when you know that your job is highly impacted by the next person on the other side, and vice versa, you kind of respect the person a bit more. It wasn't about looking at people or creating an impression about people, because you didn't see anybody, right? So these were some of the traditional things we had to let go, and we had to adopt the borderless culture, which was more outcome focused, looking at things in the real state. Can you deliver this? And there was a lot of self-organization happening there. We allowed teams to self-organize using different frameworks like the agile framework, allowing them to come together and decide what they were going to put on the table as a deliverable, as an MVP, or as an objective that we're going to fulfill at X time, right? So it was outcome focused, and all these outcomes are tied to KPIs and constantly reviewed and discussed. Like I said earlier, being very transparent is key. The borderless culture of things requires people to have access to information. In fact, right now, with the advent of AI, this is number one on priority list for everybody, because the more you're able to train your AI agents with more information, both internally and externally, the more powerful they get, etc., and things like that, right? So, and being able to get self-inspired, right? One of the things that we took as one of the behaviors that we're looking out for, that everybody needs to get to a place where you don't need to be told what to do. You need to, they say, self-motivated, but it goes beyond that. Motivation can be doused by just one action, but being inspired at every point in time by yourself. So these were some of the things that we had to impute in the team. It determined the type of training we gave the teams. It determined the type of messages we passed down to teams, and the direction that we wanted the teams to go to. And some of the employee behaviors that we see working in this borderless ways of things. Looking at the traditional ways of things, like I said earlier, relying on your manager to, cascade things downward for you. Pretty much telling you what to do per day, which is more of a micromanaging type of things. Then the, acting busy situation, and the focus on your 9 to 5. Flexibility now came into play for us. People are more productive at certain times. They have a preference to work in a certain time, maybe based on their activities, their day life. So we allowed all this happen until today. These are some of the things that were success factors for us. We had teams that would tell you that they will work in the mornings, or then we had teams that would tell you that they only start working from 10, and they work from 10, but they still do their packed hours, right? But they work from 10 because they have other things that they need to sort out and things like that. Especially the development team was totally, some of these guys work in the midnights, into the early hours of the mornings. You can't expect them to come to the office the next day, So there was a lot of flexibility put in, a lot of trust put into the teams, because we're now not measuring if you were at work, but we're measuring more of your effectiveness and the quality and the meeting of KPIs and things like that. So some adoptions that the Borderless brings forward for resources and employees would be being the owner. They call it being an entrepreneur, right? Being the internal stakeholder that takes ownership of every work that is being scheduled by yourself and organized by yourself towards the achievement of the business objectives of the organization. And being able to communicate properly what exactly you mean. Nothing vague. You need to say it as it is. You have all the information and data. Let us know what exactly you think. So this was a very difficult one, even till now. A lot of people that are not used to, especially people around the shy side of things, are not used to, standing in front of organization, colleagues and talking, find it very difficult, but we encourage this. We try to, drive this behavior in the organization. Some challenges, yeah, definitely there are challenges. You can't assume that everybody will take this and drive with it. Yes, you have issues of some of the workers feeling isolated because of this borderless culture, But most importantly, the value there for us was creating an environment where everybody felt welcome and things like that. I will look over some of these challenges. Something that I can share later. But I also look at what made us successful and why we are still driving this approach of borderless work. Because there are talents spread over the world, the ideology from our organization was to look at talents wherever they were, and we were the ones walking around them, not them walking around us. We say, okay, how do we partake of your time? Because that's what you need from your talent, right? So in some cases, you have timeshare, right? A talent is, you'd be surprised in some particular skilled areas that some certain people have some skills that you need to share with other people, right? And how do you make that work? So some of those things were some of the things that we had to do. We created our structure to be a flat structure where there'll be not too much hierarchy, people reporting to people and reporting to people. I have maybe like 3 reports before the MDC or 2 thereabout, but we have lunch together, right? So you don't feel like there's any boundary between who is the boss and who's not the boss. Everybody works in an open office environment. Try to make it as civil and flat structure as possible. Some of the other things we did was timeline working. We didn't have rigid 9 to 5, like I told you. Very great approach to work. How can you implement such in your organization? Do you want to implement such in your organization? The challenge is, if you're not looking in this route, you will. The reality is that we are continuing to have a huge level of resource deficit in society, and this is going to continue. AI is not going to make it better. It's said that it's going to continue. So first, you need to look at audit what you have presently, see the possibilities of this, and self-organize, test and see what frameworks work for you. You need some tools, like I mentioned earlier, and we can create an implementation window for you. I think my time is run out. So let me just stop here and allow Doctor to take it from here in terms of reflection. Is this fine?
Yes, I can.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olatayo. This is very profound, especially because you've been working remotely for the last 6 years, and you've been able to do your job the way you want it, and you've been able to manage your team. This is very profound. In a world where we're always complaining about the talents that we have, it shows that the most important thing right now is for every leader to look at driving key performance metrics rather than every other thing that we concern ourselves with. So I was making an instance at work right now is that I don't want my job to be your wife and you now take other jobs as side chicks. So you're not paying attention to my job because you do not think that my performance is very important. So how do we drive performance? That is the key thing. Whether we're in office with people, whether we're outside the office with people, how can we make sure that we challenge mediocrity, we discourage docility, and also reward true productivity? This is very tough because most organizations do not actually have outcomes measurement when it comes to how their talents are organized. And that is why sometimes we feel that people wouldn't work until they see us. I think having this borderless mindset can actually begin to change how we approach talent now. Because you see people, that's why sometimes we feel our job is to make people happy. Our job is not to make people happy. Our job is to be able to achieve a purpose or the vision or the reason why we're existing, profitability, whatever, revenue. And this is what you've just told us. It's not geography, is not a business constraint now. It's just a logistic detail, and we don't need to be bothered about it. Will this be easy for as many of us that we are here today? It might not be easy, but the change starts with you. Like today, I'm telling myself that, okay, who are some people that don't really have to come to the office? Can I just look at their KPI and tell them if you don't meet this KPI, then you can be thrown out? So while we're trying to micromanage, we're trying to force people to work, I know there is a problem, because I know that even my daughters are challenging why people should go to the office every day if they know what to do and they can do it. And I'm like, you people will meet me at work now and start giving me attitude. So it shows that we can do a lot better as leaders, as managers, as entrepreneurs, if we can sit down and, bring out metrics to measure outcomes, not presence, to measure outcomes, not effort, to measure outcomes, not people's normal interactive way of high service. Yes, there's a lot of people that do high service. So we shouldn't continue to mistaking attendance for effectiveness or busyness for impact. We need to be able to put those things in place to say that these are the real competitive advantage that we have, and that is you come to the office or you don't come to the office, but we look at your productivity and we look at your performance. So our expectations shouldn't be vague right now. As leaders, we should be able to be more accountable and not emotional about the workplace. Yes, because performance must be measurable. Politics shouldn't fill the gap. Performance should be measurable. And the truth about it is, if we don't look in this direction, it's just going to be like another AI. Anybody that doesn't embrace AI will eventually realize that you don't have a business. So, leaders of businesses, entrepreneurs, and organizational leaders needs to understand the fact that if they do not do this, if they do not appreciate the fact that people can be anywhere in the world and get things done for them, then there will be problems, because the shift would have moved and you wouldn't move with them. I think this is very instructional at this time, especially when everybody is looking at how to satisfy talent and how to retain talent. Yes, we cannot retain all talent, but for the people that we can retain, that we know they can work without supervision and micromanaging, allowing them to have their performance metrics where we can measure their performance, I think is the way to go. And I like the fact that this can change the culture of how we deal with talent holistically. So because you are not there are other ways you need to deal with them. I like the fact that psychological safety can actually be provided online. So you don't need to see people sometimes to get your work done, even though we know that we're social beings and this is a lot. So I want to say thank you for listening. I think I've said the real part of this is, be the leaders of businesses, let's focus on outcomes. Let's focus on performance. Let's focus on productivity and create a system that can make us see the gap in what we're doing right now, because we don't have to see all our talents.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that very wonderful reflection, Dr. Afolabi. All right. Right now, we're going to go to question and answers, and we have 3 questions already. But before we read the questions, I would please like to crave your indulgence just to quickly introduce or have share something with us. Just a minute. Just a minute here. So we have I want to please, Mr. Olatayo, can you please stop sharing so that I'll be able to share what I have here? Okay, good. So we just want to introduce this program. Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, in partnership with the Business School Netherlands, is organizing a cybersecurity and digital leadership summit in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Netherlands, and it's taking place the course duration, 7th to 10th of July 2026. It's titled Strengthening Board Oversight on Cybersecurity and Digital Risk Management. This event is ideal for directors, is ideal for CEOs, executive directors, non-executive directors, chairman, members of board, company secretaries, advisors of board, business owners, investors, and top government functionaries, ministers, commissioners, and chairmen and members of board of government, parastatals, and agencies. So if you want more information, you can reach out to Toby along Toby or Tayo. They will drop their contacts in the group chat right now. So please go ahead, Larry, and drop the information so that people who are interested can reach out to you. All right, thank you very much. So straight to our questions and answers, right? So we have the first question says, okay, so Pierre was asking, what is the source of the remote working and productivity data that you shared? I think is asking Mr. Ladipo-Ajai, the source of if you don't have it handy, you can probably send it or find a way of getting that call. But if you have it, you can let us know, or probably just put it in the group chat. Mr. Ladipo, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yes.
Yes, I will provide the data source maybe after. I'll drop it here. No problem.
Okay, no problem, sir. No problem.
Yeah.
All right, the second question, it says, okay, so it says this is more confirmation than question, also from Pierre Reeves. It says, my experience also supports the imperative that making hybrid or remote work well forces best practices in terms of team alignment and disciplined use of the right tools. It has to be intentional, easy to overlook these practices with on-site workplaces that appear to work, but it's so easy for things to fall through the cracks. The productivity benefit of in-office workplace is so often a veneer. So it's probably Pierre is just lending his voice to his own experience of how, yes, hybrid remote work can work well. I mean, using best tools and best practices. So Uduheli Izebuno is asking, how do you manage cultural sensitivities across your team in different parts of the world with the remote workplace experience? Did you get that, Mr. Ladipo?
Yeah, so I got it. So what did we do? I'll just give you one or two instances. I think I mentioned it while I was presenting. First thing is you have to be deliberate about it. You need to understand the different dimensions to the backgrounds and the cultures of the people working in the organization. One of the programs we did was we started doing bi-weekly events. It's totally out of work type of scenario, but everybody from different countries will bring some type of presentation, do a presentation and talk about maybe music in your country. I mean, I remember the time I did Fela, right? And I, spoke about Fela, to my team, and some of them are still Fela fans till today. So we started sharing things. We started using that to understand each other's cultures, getting more interested in each other's culture, and so several things that we did like that, like for example, the lunch sharing session that I mentioned the other time, where we did it virtually and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. from Green Matunat, it says, what are the major challenges organizations face? Dr. Afolabi, if you want to add anything, just let us know, please. It says, what are the major challenges organizations face in managing communications and team collaboration in remote work settings versus traditional workplace?
So can you repeat that again?
It says,
There was a break.
Okay, what are the major challenges organizations face in managing communication and team collaboration in remote work setting versus traditional workplaces?
Yeah, like you just said, traditional. So if you remember my slides, I was trying to present the behaviors that need to change. If those things are not done deliberately, it will never work, right? So you can't use the evaluation structure of physical work to evaluate remote work. So, like the doctor also said, it has to be outcome based, right? So, first, how do you measure? You need to look at frameworks. And we've seen that the Agile framework sits as one of the best ways to actually manage virtual working because it is outcome based. And also, it tries to knit together teams. So people come together and they become a unit of production, right? So you have clusters of those different teams producing different outcomes that eventually pieces like a Lego into the full set of deliverables, right? So this is the approach. You need to look at different frameworks. You need to disabuse your mind or take a step back from the traditional way of work and move into some other models that you're not used to. And it takes a lot of mind reconditioning. Yeah. So this is the approach from my view.
Okay, thank you very much. We have two more questions. It says, how do we ensure the sales team build a culture of performance, especially because they work remotely and they usually aren't tech savvy as other professionals?
Sales, like in some of the master classes that I do around sales, which is my core, right? I can tell people that sales is both an art and a science. When you miss it from the beginning, then you have this type of question. So, as salespeople born, I think maybe there's some elements that they come with that help them create the foundation for it. How do you monitor salespeople? I mean, the most successful salespeople I've worked with in my life, I didn't have to monitor them. So the dynamics of that is already on another level where you get the hiring right? Because they're delivering as at when due and things like that. Very eccentric, when it comes to that as well, because it's like equal good, equal evil. They come with the good, closure rates, but they also come with their baggies and bags of funny character, funny personality, But I mean, you need to deal with that. So managing them, tool utilization is key, but it also can be dealt by Excel sheets. So you have your CRM tool, Salesforce, each and those type of different tools using to manage the progress of the deals. But if the person is not willing to do it, it's just a record tool. So what we have started doing now is more behavioral actions. We say, what are the key deliverables that we want from you? Number one, you need to make sure that the salespeople understand what the accounts that they're managing is about. So we do something called an account mapping. An account mapping is a tool which is a set of questions that the salesperson needs to ask the customer, to be able to be successful in the account. You get what I'm saying? So we also use things like prompting the salesperson to move from one level of the sales journey to the next level. The first level is you engage, you discover. Second level is you validate the proposition to the customer. Third level is produce a proposal. Fourth level is you validate and negotiate. And the last level is for you to close. If you can find a way to let your salespeople, both physically and remotely, go through these 5 stages, it makes life easy for you. But today is not about sales. Let me stop there. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a very, very wonderful session. Our facilitator and reflector are well grounded in this this field. Just to introduce what will be happening next week. Next week we shall be discussing leading digital transformation in emerging markets, lessons from building tech-driven regulatory system. We will be having Uduheli Izebuno, founder and CEO, GoFlux Services, and Timothy Ajeki, co-founder and CEO of Uplinks Nigeria. Thank you. However, before we go, I want to say thank you to everyone for making today a very, very excellent one. We had people from Suriname, we had people from Zambia, Netherlands, South Africa, all over. It was really a global audience. And if you want to reach out to facilitators, our speakers for today, can please let us know. For those of us who also will be interested in the slides, you can reach out to us via our email and we'll send the slides directly to you. Want to say thank you for your presentation, Mr. Ladipo-Ajai. I know I was a little bit disturbed you a bit through the week because you had a very busy week and yet you still made out time for this session. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Afolabi. It was really good having you join us today. All right, and to our sponsors, we want to say thank you. To our lovely audience, thank you for your participation and questions. See you all next week. Enjoy the